If you're looking to buy a stacked NBA 2K account with max badges and more, visit sportstmb.com. He has been in the community for years and has hundreds of reviews. Click the first link in the description to get your account today.
Before this video starts, if you enjoy this video, there are many more like it already on the channel, with many more like it to come in the future, so subscribe. I'm trying to hit 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so I would really appreciate it. I upload almost daily on this channel, so if you're looking for some consistent sports talk during the quarantine, this is the place for it. Also drop a like on the video as it makes a massive difference. Today, because the basketball season seems to be resuming within the near future, I wanted to talk about whether or not the end result of this season could put an asterisk on whatever team wins the championship. So to kind of summarize what's been happening, basically, as Woj put it the other day, the steps towards the season coming back are being put into place. The exact date has still not been confirmed. There are a lot of factors, such as the access to testing kits, how quickly they can test everybody, all the facilities that they need to put in place, all of that kind of stuff will determine when the date is. But as of now, it's looking likely that the season is going to return and it will not be canceled. So that means there is going to be a 2020 NBA champion, despite the season being shut down earlier. And as a result, it begs the question, is this championship going to have an asterisk? People have been talking about it on Twitter lately. I know there was some NBA player or former NBA player who said that it would. I think it was Shaq. I don't know. I can't remember. But let's get into some of the details. So basically, the season is going to be resumed in basically what the NBA is calling a bubble inside of Disney World, I believe in Florida. It might be the one in LA. I'm pretty sure it's the one in Florida, though. And there's going to be no fans and only essential personnel and, of course, people filming the games. So it's basically going to be the players, the trainers, the coaches, and then some cameramen. Now, I will say that keeping people in a bubble is easier said than done, because all it takes is just one guy going out and suddenly the whole thing is compromised, and it's basically just a whole thing spreads within the bubble, and now the bubble is pointless. So you really are going to have to keep pretty strict rules, keep in track of all ins and outs of everything. It's not going to be an easy process, so I don't know if this is necessarily going to work. It would really suck if they started this and then a whole new outbreak started within the bubble and they had to cancel the season again. So they really need to stay on top of it if they're going to do that. Apparently, they do not plan on going straight into the playoffs, and instead they're going to finish like 17 more games of the season, I think it was, for each team. But the problem with that is you could easily cut out the risk, mitigate the risk by cutting out the 14 teams that are not in the playoff race, so they don't have to go there at all. That immediately lowers the risk factor of the virus getting inside of the bubble. So I really don't know why they are trying to do this. I guess they're trying to make up for lost revenue from people watching it on television. I imagine the people watching it on television will be some record-breaking numbers despite the weird factor of no fans in the stadium, just because we've been this deprived of sports content. So as a result, I imagine the numbers are going to be pretty damn high. So that could make up for some extra revenue. However, I don't think this is a good idea for the sake of the safety of the players and for the chance of them really finishing this season, because immediately 14 less teams, that is hundreds of less people, and that is a massive difference maker. The 8th seed in the West, Memphis Grizzlies, have a 3-game lead on the 9th seed, and the 8th seed in the East has a 6-game lead. So really, these teams are going to be the teams making the playoffs. There's no reason to be doing this stuff, so I definitely don't feel that this should be happening. At the very least, take out the teams that have already been eliminated from the playoffs. But then again, those teams would not have the extra games of losses or wins, which would affect the lottery. So I guess I understand doing all of it if you're going to do it, but really you just should not do it at all. But how will these factors affect these players that are in this bubble in Disney World, basically just staying in a hotel, playing games, practicing, and that's pretty much all they're doing? Well, first of all, there's going to be no home court advantage. Every single game is going to be played in the same area. I think they're going to make a couple of courts to play these on because they want to be able to play other games at the same time and things like that. However, there will not be home court advantage. Teams that fought for high seed records will not really get the advantage of it. So as a result, lower seeded teams like 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, they're going to get an advantage from this because they're not going to have to worry about home court. They're not going to get that disadvantage that they would have originally gotten under normal circumstances. Also, there's a good chance a lot of these players are going to be out of shape. I know James Harden isn't going to be because he just lost a shit ton of weight. I have questioned whether or not that's actually a positive thing because a lot of his ability to get to the basket is how big he is. A lot of the reason he's a great post defender is how big he is, but I guess we'll see how that one works out. But there will also probably be weird factors that we can't really account for now. We're really going to have to wait and see what happens because it's hard to say what will happen. There's some weird stuff that could happen that I don't even know how to speculate on that could be a factor here. But now the question is, are those weird factors going to put an asterisk on any championship outcome here? Well, I really think it depends on what that outcome is. Now, first of all, every other team has to deal with these weird circumstances. So as a result, it's not like one team is really getting that much more of an advantage than the other. The only thing that's really factoring here is that the teams that were originally going to have an advantage, that advantage being home court advantage, are no longer going to have it. So as a result, if like the 6th seed ended up winning a championship, then yes, that definitely would put some sort of asterisk on that championship because you could argue, well, if this was the normal circumstances, they would not have been as able to win these types of games because they would have had to go against the opposing crowd and things of that nature. And even that might not even have to be with lower seeded teams. There's a good chance this would happen depending on the finals matchup. Like the Milwaukee Bucks currently have the best record in the NBA, and let's say they face the Lakers or the Clippers or really anyone in the finals, and that team ended up winning the finals instead of the Bucks. There would be Bucks fans that would say, well, under normal circumstances, the Bucks would have had home court advantage, and that would have made a big difference in the series, especially if it was a close series where this happened. But it's also can be argued that, well, they don't have to deal with opposing crowds either. But I guess that doesn't really even out because of how many games are home court and not. You get what I'm saying. So as a result, there is definitely potential for an asterisk. Now, then the question becomes, how big of an asterisk would that be, and would this championship even be viewed as legitimate? Now, I definitely think it's fair to say that this would be a weird championship. All these circumstances are weird. I would love to see the documentary about the 2020 championship 10 years from now. I'm sure it's going to be fucking fantastic. I can already picture it now. It's going to be named like When the Crowd Went Silent or some shit like that, something corny like that, but it would definitely be a good documentary. But will this championship have any value? I would say so. It's going to be hard as hell to rank amongst other championships because I know I've said it a bunch of times in this video already and people have said it a bunch of times before, but this is just weird. These circumstances are unprecedented. So as a result, I definitely don't think that this is going to be everyone's going to agree on this. I think this is going to be possibly the most heavily debated championship in NBA history. Like, I don't even think there are championships that people debate all that much. I know in the late 80s, or I think it might have been in 1990, I don't remember what year it was, when Kareem got fouled on a skyhook that he really should not have been fouled on, and the Pistons really should have been 3-time champions. That's one of the ones that people debate. There's years like 2002 where people say that the Lakers should not have even been in that final series because they should have lost to the Kings, things of that nature. People that say Wade should not have won that championship for the Miami Heat Heat in 06 because that series was rigged. It really wasn't, but whatever. But this championship in particular, especially with the emotions of people, with the weird outcomes that could potentially be happening here, there are going to be a lot of people talking about what happens with this championship. Now, as for what my opinion will be, I'm going to predict that my opinion would be, yes, this was weird, but overall it was still fair because everyone else had these circumstances. But there's also a chance that because of these factors, a team that would not have won under normal circumstances does. So this really all depends on whether or not that potential outcome is the real outcome. So basically, my answer to the question of this title of would the 2020 championship have an asterisk? Well, I don't know. Probably not, but it's also definitely likely. Okay, that's contradictory. It's definitely possible one way or the other. Really, give me the result and I'll tell you whether or not it has an asterisk. I guess we'll have to wait and see. All I know is I can't exactly complain about basketball in any form coming back. I started watching 2K YouTubers playing basketball the other day because that's how desperate I am for any kind of basketball content whatsoever. So, end of the day, season's coming back. We're going to get playoff basketball, even if it's going to be weird, and I look forward to it. That's the end of this video. Please be sure to like and subscribe for more NBA content like this, and cue the outro music.